before I read it in the paper. 1 minute before. Okay, let's go to Philipp Humm, who could not be there last year, CEO and President T-Mobile USA. Good to meet you, sir. Thank you for being here. And then finally, Dan Mead, President and CEO of Verizon Wireless. Dan, good to see you again. Thank you. All right, guys, here's the idea. I did something recently for Comcast that was a lot of fun, and I think it'll really help us. It was kind of like speed dating. I gave everybody a chance to be able to answer the same question to start, because what I think is right is I don't want to favor any one of you. I know that in your presentations you had a chance to favor yourselves, but I want everyone just 1 minute for a couple of quick questions that I think apply to everybody here that you want to know. This is as I said, this is the fastest changing industry I have ever seen. We met last year in May. What has changed first, most dramatically for the telephone industry, for the telco industry, the biggest innovation since last year?
I think what we're seeing happening is the mobile internet coming to life, Jim. A year ago, we were still shipping more PCs than we were shipping smartphones and tablets. This past year, we reached a tipping point. So now the internet is going mobile, and that's what's allowing things like digital life and the things that we showed to really come to life, along with the customer perception changing, and instead of going away from that technology, embracing it, which means we have a great growth opportunity ahead of this industry.
Incredible. 1 year. Dan?
Well, I'd say Philip's up here on stage with us. He was tied up with a gag in the back a year ago. But I'd say the U.S. clearly being recognized as the global wireless leader. And it's largely because of LTE and the fast rollout of LTE.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting because we talked about that last year. Was where were we? And a lot of people felt that Korea was ahead of us. A lot of people felt that there were a lot of countries that you would never think of as being important were ahead of us. It's unchallenged now.
It was unchallenged.
Unchallenged. Philip, I didn't get to speak to you last year, but you certainly can tell us what's biggest. Not yet for your company, but for the industry, biggest change.
Yeah, and I think the biggest change is really that 4G has been brought to life now. We have the right radio and we have the right backbone in the industry to really deliver blazingly fast speed, and that will change life for our consumers.
Okay. Dan, biggest change in the industry since I met you last?
Yeah, undoubtedly, it's video delivery over mobile devices. So being able to search and download and aggregate movies and other video content, the intersection of the video delivery, the LTE network, and the customer desire to be able to view video at any time on any device that they choose. That's what's really changing.
All right, now work backwards this time, Dan, to be fair too, because I don't want to just favor anybody, and I think that it does take a second to be able to figure out what to do. Dan, next year at this time when we meet, what are we going to have that we did not know about right now? When I'm answering this question about the biggest innovation, what am I going to find out?
What you're going to find out, I think, is different consumer adoption. I think you're going to see a lot more activity of consumers exploring what they can do on the LTE network in terms of controlling their lives, controlling their homes, being able to manage their interactions at work and socially. I think we're going to see a tremendous acceleration over the next 12 months.
Philip?
I think our industry will evolve very rapidly from being access provider to being value-added services, being really a platform where all the services can be offered to the end consumer. And a big shift, voice and classical text will really decrease in importance, and the other application will increase.
I think in a year the dialogue is going to be dominated by privacy, safety, and security instead of speed and technology. I think that has been the story over the past year. We were talking about that, LTE and applications, but people will be focused more on things like privacy, security, privacy versus utility. I think you'll see a lot more customers protecting their devices, a lot more focus on theft and those kinds of issues. I think it'll dominate the public discussion, the industry discussion of the next year.
I think the next big wave next year, probably towards the end of next year, will be mobile payments, Jim. I think it's time for the smartphone to replace the wallet. I think the technology's coming together, the partnerships are coming together, and mobile payments and mobile commerce, I think, is going to flourish next year.
Okay. What I want to do now is just is ask individually about what has happened at your company and what you think we'll be talking about your company specifically from 1 year. So in other words, if you can go around, just say, listen, here's what's changed since I saw you last at AT&T Wireless, AT&T Mobility.
You know, I think one of the things that we have seen, maybe echo some of the other comments, what we have seen in the deployment of our latest technology, 4G LTE, is amazing. I mean, the infrastructure works really well. The speeds are amazing. The OEMs are building handsets that are fantastic. They're lightweight, they're thin, they have great battery lives now. And then the applications are getting developed, so it's a perfect system, right? The infrastructure, the handsets, and the applications coming together to continue to drive this unstoppable wave of data demand that we have seen. So I think 4G is just taking it to another level, and 4G LTE is going to continue to drive that wave.
Big change in your company, Dan?
Yeah, well, you know, since last year, the fact that we have the iPhone, that's a big change for us. And also we just started the Network Vision program, which is the beginning of, we could say, creating a new history in our, chapter in our history with respect to the IDE network. By the end of 2013, we intend to be turning that IDE network off, and we're building out a 4G LTE network. So we'll launch our first 4G LTE markets, 6 of them by mid-year, and that's really what's changing in our company.
Yeah, for us, the AT&T deal is over for 5 months, so it's really restarting the company and delivering on the promise we just made today, in particular investing in modernizing our network and building LTE. We just announced that. Building a very strong presence in B2B and having in 1 year a very strong challenger brand in the marketplace.
Yeah, for us it was certainly LTE. We've been at this for a while, and having the whole ecosystem move with us. We carry around 60% of the global LTE traffic on our Verizon wireless network. And there are a lot of folks in this room that helped make that a reality by believing that that would be a solution set for the marketplace, developing devices, developing the network infrastructure. And that was an idea. We were only 3 months into it when we talked before. We were at the very beginning. But it is a tremendous reality for our industry now.
All right, I think you guys all gave great speeches ahead of this, and I don't want to leave them, I don't want to just leave them as they were, because you offered challenges to each other's companies, and you also offered solutions to your different industries. Dan, I thought your comments about, Dan Mead, I thought your comments about spectrum were important, because we talk about how the United States is now the leader, but it's pretty clear that other countries are well ahead in terms of what they're doing for spectrum and helping carriers. This is a government issue, and yet you're trying to address it with machines. What can you do to make the government realize that it's behind other governments in trying to do the right thing?
So, we certainly have an opportunity to share our thoughts, as I did earlier today. I would say that it's an industry issue that in the case of freeing up government spectrum, making sure that the incentive auction process is efficient, are a couple things the government can do. But there's a tremendous amount of unused spectrum in the secondary markets owned by private companies, and getting that in the hands of the companies that will make it important for consumers is one of the things that we can do as an industry. Now, we certainly are respectful, and we need the appropriate approvals on that. But I think that there's a balance of responsibility here.
Let me follow up. There are some companies that would believe that your company has more spectrum than anybody, and that you're still out there trying to acquire some spectrum, and you're selling some spectrum, and that the whole spectrum issue may not be a fair one, and that some companies have so much more than others. How do you answer that?
Yeah, I would say that's not true. We don't have the most spectrum. We have the most efficient use of spectrum. And we have a very clear plan on how to optimize the spectrum for the benefit of consumers. So we're using the secondary markets. We came to a structured deal with the Spectrum Co. guys, and we said, okay, if we do that, we should make the 700A and B available in the marketplace. It's good for our company, and we think it's the right thing to do for the industry.
Philip, you're very candid about what occurred last year and how you're coming back. At the same time, your parent, in its conference call, very specifically said, we have to find a longer-term solution for some challenges, and we will, midterm, continue to look at strategic options for T-Mobile. How can you do your job and at the same time have the CEO on the conference call for everyone to hear saying, no, strategic options are still on the table?
Yeah. No, I think it's very clear, and the FCC and DOJ were very clear in that context, that there is no second AT&T deal around the corner. And we are looking at different options to strengthen our balance sheet, to strengthen our financial position. It's well known that we are looking at the alternative of potentially selling some of our towers. So we're looking at different strategic alternatives there. This is something we will continue to do.
Your company had a deal that didn't go through, where you got $3 billion and you got some spectrum. At the same time, a year ago, you were, according to some industry standards, ahead of all the other networks in how many people you could add to it. At the same time, there's a lot of your business kind of just stopped. How are you able to be able to catch up again? I know I saw your terrific presentation, but you did become an easy to pick off player, because all three other gentlemen say that they gained share and they took subscribers. And I have to believe that a lot of them came from your company.
I mean, it's clear that if you have a pending acquisition on a company, that there is some negative effect on the company. That being said, we have been actually quite successful in the meantime, winning market share in quite a lot of areas. We also have been very, very busy, otherwise we wouldn't have these data speeds, and really building quietly a very strong backhaul. We have more than 95% fiber backhaul, which basically explains why we have so strong data speeds. So now it's about time to basically realize projects we announced last year in January and really bring them to life, please.
Okay, Dan, I thought your speech was a tough one. You're always out there. You're always out there. And one of the things that I want to quote is that you said, with the issues lying ahead for our industry, financial and regulatory, it has been more important for wireless carriers to gain the public's trust. But according to the Reputation Institute survey, the reputation of industry has dropped to the lowest among any major industry. Even the cable and oil industries, oil being, you ever talk positive about oil like I do in our show, I know that I get crushed. Do you think that some of this is because when I listened to the presentations, I came away thinking everybody was better than the other guy? And I think a lot of consumers feel that when so many companies tell you that they're better than the other guy, they don't want to trust anybody.
Well, I think it's natural in any industry. I don't care whether you're talking about the car industry, oil companies, or everybody, when they market, they put their best foot forward. The issue I think that we have, and the opportunity that we have, and there's a lot of discussion as well with respect to who's making the money in our industry, the over-the-top players or us. As we look forward as an industry, our Achilles heel is trust and reputation. And if we are able to improve that, because it is the most personal device, this mobile phone, of any device in history, we will be in the position, and this is why issues around privacy and how we use a customer's data. If they trust us, they are going to buy from us. They are going to have a special relationship with us up here. So personally, the fact that we compete aggressively in the market, we say, come to us, we're the best, I think customers understand that. I think that in any competitive industry, companies take the gloves off. But as an industry, and also as us individually, we have to gain trust, and it is the biggest opportunity for us. And I do believe we have a trust and reputation crisis in the industry because of our rating.
But it should be the opposite. You're the most competitive industry. Until the last year, my bill is pretty much driven down. I'm able to hog, except for some minor tiering, I'm able to hog as much of your towers as I want with my product. So why, given the fact that almost every other industry would have ratcheted up prices dramatically, are you guys the bad guys?
I was surprised by the information and the data. I don't think it's deserved, and I think we just have to do a better job of marketing ourselves. I think this is a great opportunity for the CTIA. There's a lot that we're doing to improve the industry's reputation in areas like cybersecurity, what we've done in green, what we've done in distracted driving, et cetera. I just think it's something that we need to focus on, and I don't have all of the information as to why. I am surprised that our industry has the reputation that it does, but the data is there, and I looked at the study.
Okay, Ralph, let me follow up with you. Right before you spoke, Philip, whom I know, there was a time when I think maybe you gentlemen thought you were going to work together, showed a very provocative commercial. And the commercial basically said that your iPhone is way too slow, and it'd be better not to have an iPhone, frankly, because if you like speed, you shouldn't be with ATT. Is that, you're a gentleman, you've always been a gentleman, but that has got to rankle you. I mean, I just saw an ad that basically said that you're too slow and I shouldn't use you.
It ain't true. That's why this industry has a bad rap, is because we take the truth and we stretch it. And the bottom line is, when a third party tested our network in 9 markets, we had the fastest LTE network in the country, and blew anything that they have away. But I think we each try to put our best foot forward, and in doing so, it confuses the customers. And I think one of the things that we need to do is to talk straight and to make sure that we simplify things for the customer so that they really focus on the things that we're providing them and not so much on the technology aspects that we continue to argue about.
I feel like I have to, because a fellow panelist said that something is not true, I got to just respond.
No, I have to help out Ralph on this one, because it's the first time we have seen the commercial. And the comparison is relative to the iPhone, which runs on 14 megabit per second, so it's significantly slower than the 4G speeds you have on other devices.
So he's comparing a phone to a network, and my point is our network is faster. So everybody gets that one, okay?
But you specifically tried to, I think in your terrific speech, say that speed isn't really, to me, I read the speech as saying, I heard the speech as saying, listen, maybe speed is not as important as you think.
I think that we're getting to the point that I was trying to make, Jim, is that we're all investing heavily in improving the speeds of our network. So at some point in time when we all have LTE, the customers are going to get all the speed that they need. Okay. And so the question is, beyond speed, what else do we have to offer? That's why I think our approach of giving customers solutions, in this case digital life at home solutions, it's a change in the paradigm where we're just not talking about speeds. We're talking about how to solve customers' problems and make their lives better.
Okay. Dan Mead, we got a lot of people, but we have more cell phones than people. And I think that the industry itself, as someone who follows stocks, I know we're just representing Verizon Wireless, but follows stocks, the big perception is everybody who has a phone, everybody who needs a phone has one. And that this industry is going to hit a wall. Will that wall appear on the horizon?
Well, I don't think there's a wall at all. I think we're at a growth inflection point. With what we have going on with LTE and the breadth that we can add to the lineup, with the tablets, with all of the home controls and monitoring, you know, our industry is only 29 years old. We're not going to raise the flag and say that we're not going to get more growth. I'm very encouraged by what I see, and one of the reasons that I'm encouraged is by the amount of work and collaboration with thought leaders and app providers and operating systems, along with the devices on these LTE networks, our Verizon Wireless LTE network. Bringing all of that together is making a tremendous difference. So I don't buy any of that at all, Jim.
Do you think that we thought we saw a peak in messaging, but it looks like from your conference call, there's still growth even in messaging?
Messaging is doing very well. There will be different kinds of messaging, but you know, text messaging, we process around 70 billion text messages a month, Verizon Wireless, and we're seeing you know, very strong level of activity, and we're encouraged by that.
Philip, you talked about different kinds of ways that you want to make the customer pay. You want intelligent payment. Is there a level where the consumer will just say, listen, I'm not paying?
I think, sure, there is a level where the price would be too high, but that is definitely not the case right now. And the intelligent rate plans really have the idea that you offer to customers a 2.5 G speed unlimited, and then customers can choose the amount of 4G they want to have. Right? So what you make sure by doing that is that nobody runs into overage, which has always been a problem in our industry. Yes, so you pay what you at the end of the day expect to get, and you don't have surprises. So I think that's a very good format. But we also see big interest in customers in other areas like TV and other areas where customers start to use the mobile device and discover new services.
But without the iPhone, which we know is popular, you have to stipulate that the iPhone's popular. Without the iPhone, will you have to compete more on price and offer the lowest price of anyone here?
No, I think pure price competition would be the wrong way to go. And if you look at, for example, at the development of our ARPU has gone up despite the fact that we have actually some pretty aggressive prices out there. So I think the point is more to offer some more unlimited or all-inclusive rate plans for customers. So getting more instead of paying less is, I think, more important in that context.
Okay. Dan, you talked last year, it's almost as if we forgot it. I want to bring it right back center stage. Arab Spring was caused by cell phones. Where have we gotten, year over year, has the cell phone become a foe of authoritarian regimes?
Well, it depends upon which authoritarian regime. It depends upon cell phone penetration. So if you look at Tunisia, about 100% cell phone penetration. Egypt, about 90%. Now they're having trouble in Syria, it's about 60%. Maybe if it was 90 or 100, it'd be gone. North Korea is probably the example.
Well, there's 1 million users in North Korea.
Yes.
Is that enough to create a revolution?
I don't think so, because the penetration in North Korea is 4%, which is ironic when you think that the highest cell phone penetration in the world is South Korea, and North Korea is like the lowest. So just, you know, it's a huge contrast. So they're basically the privileged are the only ones that have cell phones, and they're not the ones who are going to want to upset the apple cart. So I don't know whether cell phones will play a big role in social change in North Korea, because there just aren't as many of them as there have been in the regimes we've seen.
So really it's penetration that can determine whether a leaderless group of people can afford it. Because what it is, kind of, it's a rave, right? I mean, everyone meet at 1 o'clock at the square.
Absolutely. Iran's another one. You know, Iran's probably somewhere around 60 to 80%, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So in some of these Middle Eastern countries, I think it's more of a threat than it is North America. But exactly that. You have to be able to communicate with other people. Social networking, if you will, the network, it depends upon how many people can access that network, and I think it's very limited in North Korea.
Yeah. Rob, you talked about the game changers and about the idea of the home security plan. I listen, and look, there's no doubt about it, that's something I would, okay? I have a beach house, I pay, as I mentioned to you offline, I pay someone a lot of money just to be sure that my pipes aren't frozen. If I could have your device, I would be able to knock off a lot of that. At the same time, you are a gigantic company where even just a little bit of more Android, less Apple is going to present a remarkable earnings per share gain. These things, how do they move the needle in a huge company like yours?
Well, the Digital Life project that we talked about, I think, can move the needle even in a company as big as AT&T.
But it's brilliant, your opportunity, you even said in the thing that the opportunity is just a couple billion.
I didn't say that, so let's be clear.
All right, but
it's big.
Right.
I think it's absolutely
big. The analysts
big.
have been saying it's a $3 billion.
It's a significant opportunity. I think it has good margins. It's not capital intensive, and it doesn't need a lot more spectrum to be able to deploy it. So I think it's a perfect opportunity, and we're taking advantage of it. In terms of subsidies, I think, you know, we always strive to reduce subsidies, but we strongly believe that you should sell a phone to a customer based on what that customer needs and wants, rather than just trying to pitch a phone. So I think we try to manage both of those in a balanced way, and so far we've been very successful. As you know, in the first quarter, we had record sales of smartphones, the best smartphone quarter in our company's history, yet our margins went up 260 basis points from a year ago. So we know how to sell a lot of smartphones, and at the same time can drive up our margins.
Your smartphone penetration, I believe, is lower than some of the other companies. Is that going to change? Do you think by next year your smartphone penetration will be equal to what AT&T is?
We are increasing our smartphone penetration a lot every quarter. So we ended the first quarter around 47%. We're seeing tremendous upward momentum. We're seeing great balance in terms of the lineup. We like where we are, and we like the growth that we have in front of us with smartphone penetration coming.
Okay. Philip, when you look at where your company is right now, I know that people say that you think that there could not be any deals, but do you think that we could be buying an IPO of T-Mobile sometime next year?
Yeah, I think it's the perfect audience here to make big announcements.
A lot of people would love a pure play.
Oh, I'm sure. No, but I think what we really want to focus on is re-strengthening T-Mobile, and we're restarting the business, doing our investments in different areas.
It's a great publicity to do it on.
This is great publicity.
All right.
Even after 2 glasses of wine, I would still be okay.
And Dan, you're often rumored in the papers to be doing a deal. It sounds like I think it's all rumor, all smoke. There is no deal being done, or you're not working on a deal. It just seems like that any speculation of deals really should just stop thinking about.
Well, I won't say one way or the other. I can't comment on whether people should be thinking about them or not thinking about them. I will say this. Because of our focus on execution and network vision, a deal would have to be very compelling for us to do it at this time.
Okay. In the time remaining, I just want to get a very quick sense from each of you. There's an IPO that's coming out. It's going to be the biggest in the world. Okay, it's Facebook, and I would need to know whether just right down the line in 15 seconds, Facebook, good or bad for your company?
Good.
Why?
I think the social networking is going to be a major force in this industry for years to come. I think it helps people to communicate. That's what we do.
See?
We're going to facilitate it from a mobile phone.
Absolutely, yes.
Really helps.
Yeah.
Good. It's our biggest application right now, and people take 150 times a day the phone in the hand, and Facebook is the #1 application. So it's very important.
Is it worth, Dan, the price of Verizon? The whole market value? I'm asking the market value of Verizon, very big company.
Well, our market value is very solid. I'd let an expert like you comment on Facebook.
I like dividends. And it worked pretty good during the last decade. Almost everything else failed you. Want to know friend or foe, okay? Is Apple, at this point, a friend and a foe because it hurts your margins, but it brings in customers?
Apple is a friend. If you look at our margins, before we launched the iPhone in 2006, our margins were 32% and our churn was 1.5%. Fast forward to this past quarter, our margins are 41.6 and our churn is 1.1, and the lowest we've seen in 7 quarters, so friend.
Okay. I have to believe Dan, because I know you paid $15 billion. Now, the rights are clearly a friend. Is Skype a friend or a foe?
I think it's a friend. It's an application.
Really?
Yeah. I don't see Skype as a threat. You know, to us, a bit is a bit. And if you think about also what makes Sprint unique is that we offer bundled unlimited plans. So data, text, mobile-to-mobile calling is all in there anyway. So if a customer chooses to use any of those venues or another one, their bill's going to be the same.
Okay. Folks, how about Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon is a friend. We're working intensively.
You guys are friendly guys.
Yeah. I mean, our industry lives on competition at the end of the day. And it's such a complex world that we cooperate with people we compete with. And we cooperate well with Amazon, both as a dealer for our products, but also for services.
Okay. And how about Google? And I say Google because I know that Android is one way to look at Google, but Google wants to compete with you guys in some ways.
Yeah, so a lot of people in this room are customers and suppliers and competitors. I mean, that's the nature of our industry. So I look at Google as a friend, certainly. And I think that they look at us as a friend since we really helped put Android on the map.
All right, and one other odd one, Comcast, cable companies, oddly fighting it out in another part of your operation, Fios, but you're a friend.
Yeah, Comcast is an important business partner of ours. I talked a few minutes ago about the video delivery. We're going to make sure that Fios gets the same benefits out of this so that there's going to be a level playing field between Fios and all the other cable providers. Think about it this way. All of those companies will be my agents, and Verizon Wireless will benefit from those relationships.
All right, one last round. It strikes me when I